My brother inherited the family business while I got nothing. Now the business is failing and he and my parents wants me to work for him for free, so I laughed in their faces. I, 34F, come from a family that has owned a successful construction company for 3 generations. My brother Mark, 37M, was always positioned to take over the business, despite me showing more interest and aptitude in construction and business management from an early age. This story has been building up for decades, and I need to get it off my chest. First, some background about our family business. My grandfather started Wilson Construction in 1952 with nothing but a pickup truck and a toolbox. Through hard work and incredible business acumen, he built it into one of the most respected construction companies in our state. We specialized in commercial buildings, and our name used to mean something in the industry. By the time my father took over in the 1990s, we were doing $50 million in annual revenue and employed over 200 people. Growing up, I was fascinated by construction. While other girls my age were playing with dolls, I was building elaborate structures with blocks and Legos. My grandfather noticed my interest and would take me to construction sites on weekends, teaching me about foundations, load-bearing walls, and project planning. Those are some of my most cherished memories. I spent every summer from age 14 working various positions in the company. I started as a basic laborer, cleaning up job sites and running errands. By 16, I was helping with inventory management. At 17, I was assisting project managers with scheduling and coordination. The workers respected me because I wasn't afraid to get my hands dirty and actually wanted to learn the trade. Meanwhile, Mark showed little interest, preferring to party and coast through college with barely passing grades. He would show up late to his summer jobs at the company, if he showed up at all. When he did work, he spent most of his time in the air-conditioned office, playing on his computer and treating the employees like they were beneath him. But because he was the firstborn son, my parents never questioned that he would inherit everything. The real issues started when I was choosing my college major. I had been accepted into several prestigious universities' construction management programs. I was particularly excited about one that had a special focus on sustainable building practices and modern project management methodologies. When I brought up the acceptance letters at dinner, my father actually laughed. "Why would you waste time and money studying construction?" he said. "You'll just get married and have kids anyway. Study something more suitable for a woman, like teaching or nursing." My mother, always the peacemaker but never my advocate, suggested elementary education because you'll have the same schedule as your future kids. When I protested, pointing out my experience and passion for construction, my father shut me down completely. "This is not up for discussion," he said. "Either study something appropriate, or pay for college yourself." So I did. I took out loans, worked 2 jobs, one at a local hardware store and another as a campus tour guide, and put myself through the construction management program. I graduated with a 3.9 GPA and was even offered a teaching assistant position for graduate school, which I had to turn down because of my loans. During college, I tried to stay involved with the family business during breaks, but I was increasingly pushed to the sidelines. Mark, who had barely graduated with his communications degree, was immediately given a senior management position. His starting salary was $120,000, plus a company car and expense account. Meanwhile, when I asked about joining the company after graduation, my father offered me $15 per hour to work in the office answering phones. I'll never forget the conversation where I confronted him about this disparity. He was sitting in his corner office, the one my grandfather had used, surrounded by photos of 3 generations of Wilson men. "Dad, I don't understand," I said. "I have a relevant degree, years of experience, and I know this business inside and out. Why won't you give me a real position?" He sighed, like I was a child who couldn't understand basic math. "Look, sweetheart, this is a construction company. Our clients and workers expect to deal with men. Besides, Mark is the heir to the business. He needs to learn all aspects of management. But he doesn't know anything about construction. Last week he approved a bid that didn't even include materials costs." "He'll learn," my father said dismissively. "That's why I'm here to guide him." That was my breaking point. I left and took a junior project manager position with a competitor. It paid less than what Mark was making, but at least they respected my abilities. Over the next decade, I worked my way up through various companies, building a solid reputation in the industry. I'm now a senior project manager at Maxwell Construction, one of the top firms in the region, managing projects worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The irony? Several times over the years, my company has competed against Wilson Construction for contracts, and we've won most of them. Not because we underbid them, but because we had better project planning, clearer timelines, and more professional presentations. I took no pleasure in beating them, okay, maybe a little, but I did take pride in winning those contracts on merit. 5 years ago, my father decided to retire. I found out about the ownership transfer through industry gossip rather than from my family. He had transferred 100% of the company's shares to Mark, a company worth millions at that point. I got nothing. Not a single share, not even a token acknowledgement of my years of unwanted work. When I finally confronted my mother about it at one of our increasingly rare family dinners, her response was peak traditionalist nonsense. "Honey, you abandoned the family business to work for competitors," she said, stirring her coffee absently. "Besides, you'll get married and your husband will provide for you. Mark has a family to support." I wanted to scream. I was already living with Sarah at this point, my partner of 3 years, but my family refused to acknowledge our relationship. They still sent me Christmas cards addressed to Jennifer and friend. Every time I tried to bring Sarah to family events, they had some excuse for why it wasn't appropriate. Mark's wife, Karen, yes, really, made everything worse. She came from old money and treated everyone like servants, including me. She took great pleasure in playing the role of company wife, organizing charity galas and sitting on local boards while bragging about being part of the Wilson Construction legacy. She managed to turn every family gathering into a showcase of their supposed success, their new vacation home, their country club membership, their children's private school. Speaking of children, Mark and Karen made sure their kids were indoctrinated early. Their son Tommy, 8, once asked me why I wasn't good enough to work for Daddy's company. When I asked him what he meant, he said, "Mommy says you were jealous of Daddy's success, so you went to work for bad people who steal our business." I stopped attending family gatherings after that. Over the next few years, I heard rumors about problems at Wilson Construction. Projects running behind schedule. Contractors not getting paid on time. High employee turnover. But I stayed out of it, focusing on my own career and my life with Sarah, who had become my fiancée. We're planning a wedding for next spring, not that my family knows. Then came the infamous dinner last week. The invitation was odd from the start. My mother actually called instead of texting, and she specifically said Sarah was welcome to come, first time ever. That should have been my first red flag. When we arrived at my parents' house, the tension was palpable. Mark was there, looking like he hadn't slept in weeks. Karen's designer outfit couldn't hide her stress-eating weight gain. My father, always proud and commanding, seemed somehow smaller. Only my mother pretended everything was normal, fussing over her pot roast like it was any other family dinner. They waited until after the main course to drop the bomb. The business wasn't just failing, it was in complete freefall. They'd lost 60% of their regular clients. Their bonding company had dropped them due to too many incomplete projects. They were facing 3 different lawsuits from suppliers for unpaid bills. The bank was threatening to call their business loans. As they laid out the disaster, the real picture emerged. Mark had been grossly mismanaging everything. He'd hired his fraternity brothers for key positions, none of whom had any construction experience. He'd been underbidding projects just to keep work coming in, then couldn't complete them within budget. He'd used company funds to maintain his family's lavish lifestyle, private schools, country club memberships, luxury cars, and a vacation home in Aspen. But the real kicker? He'd taken out a second mortgage on the company headquarters, the building my grandfather had built with his own hands, to cover cash flow problems. And that money was nearly gone. Their solution was what really got me. They wanted me to come in as a special advisor to help turn things around. No salary, of course, they couldn't afford it. No ownership stake either. Just my nights and weekends spent cleaning up their mess while maintaining my current job to help with cash flow. Karen, who had clearly practiced her pitch, even suggested I could invest in the family legacy by taking out a second mortgage on my house. She had already researched my home's value online and had calculations ready for how much equity I could access. That's when I started laughing. It began as a chuckle and grew into full-blown, tears streaming down my face laughter. Sarah later told me she'd never seen anything like it. "Let me get this straight," I finally managed to say. "You want me to work for free to save the company you excluded me from? And you want me to risk my home to bail out people who've spent years treating me and my fiancé like dirt? It's your family duty." My mother cried. "Your grandfather would be heartbroken to see his legacy destroyed." "My grandfather," I shot back, "taught me everything he knew about construction because he saw my potential. He would be heartbroken to see how you've all squandered that legacy through sexism and incompetence." The argument that followed was epic. Mark's face turned purple as he accused me of enjoying their misfortune. Karen called me every name in the book. My mother cried about family loyalty. My father just sat there, looking old and defeated. "Where was this family loyalty when you gave Mark everything?" I asked. "Where was it when you refused to pay for my education? Where was it every time you excluded Sarah from family events? Where was it when you chose Mark, with zero experience or interest, over me simply because he was born male?" Sarah, my amazing fiancée, chose that moment to speak up. You know what's ironic? If you had given Jen even a small role in the company, she probably would have prevented most of these problems. Instead, you're only willing to acknowledge her abilities when you need her to fix your mistakes. We left to a chorus of guilt trips and insults. Karen's final shot was calling me a heartless BTCH. I turned in the doorway and delivered what Sarah calls my mic drop moment. "No, I'm just not a fool. You all made your choice years ago when you decided I wasn't family enough to share in the success. Now you don't get to decide I'm family when you need to share the failure." The aftermath has been nuclear. Extended family members have taken sides. My Aunt Patricia, Dad's sister, called to tell me she faced similar discrimination when she was young and supports my decision. But most relatives are calling me selfish and heartless. Mark has apparently told his kids that they might lose their house because Auntie Jen is mean and won't help Daddy. He's also been telling industry contacts that I'm coming to help turn things around. I had to have my lawyer send a cease and desist letter to stop him from using my name and reputation. My mother has been calling daily, alternating between guilt trips and promises that things will be different this time. My father sent a single text, "Your grandfather would be ashamed." I responded with photos of my project portfolio and my last performance review, then blocked his number. The latest development? I heard through industry contacts that they're trying to sell the business. But with their reputation in tatters and multiple lawsuits pending, they're unlikely to get even a fraction of what it was worth 5 years ago. Part of me feels sad seeing my grandfather's legacy end this way, but a bigger part knows this was inevitable given their choices. Sarah says I did the right thing. My therapist says I'm finally setting healthy boundaries. But sometimes at night, I wonder if I should have at least tried to help, not for them but for my grandfather's memory. So, Reddit, was I wrong to laugh in their faces and refuse to help? Edit 1, wow, this blew up. Thank you for all the awards and support. To address some common questions. 1. Yes, there were warning signs the business was failing for years. I heard through industry contacts that they were losing bids and missing deadlines, but I stayed out of it because every attempt I'd made to help in the past was rejected. 2. Several people have asked if I'd consider buying the business. Even if I could afford it, I can't. They're asking way above market value. The company's reputation is so damaged it would be better to start fresh. 3. My grandfather passed away when I was young, but from stories I've heard, he actually wanted his daughters, my aunts, involved in the business too. My father was the one who pushed them out after taking over. 4. Some asked about legal action regarding the inheritance. I consulted a lawyer years ago, everything was done legally. Unfair, but legal. Edit 2, for those asking about my female cousins, yes, all of them were also excluded from any ownership or meaningful roles in the business. 2 of my cousins actually started their own successful construction-adjacent businesses after facing similar discrimination. We have a group chat called the Wilson Women Who Weren't Worthy where we share industry tips and support each other. Edit 3, important update, just discovered Mark has been telling potential clients that I'll be joining the company to right the ship. He's even using my current job title and project history in their marketing materials. My lawyer has sent a cease and desist letter. The audacity of these people never ceases to amaze me. Edit 4. To the people sending hateful DMs about traditional family values and calling me slurs, thanks for proving my point about sexism in the construction industry. You're part of the problem. Final edit. Thanks for all the support, Reddit. Sarah and I are focusing on our upcoming wedding, which my family still doesn't know about. The best revenge is living well, right? Update, 24 hours later. Holy smokes, this blew up way more than expected. My cousin just called to tell me my story made it to TikTok and someone is making a YouTube video about it. My lawyer is handling Mark's continued misuse of my name, and 3 former Wilson Construction employees have reached out with stories that make the company's problems even worse than I knew. Sarah says we should write a book. We'll update if anything major happens. Hey Reddit, up here with an update that I wasn't expecting to make. It's been 2 weeks since my original post, and things have taken some wild turns. First, thank you all for the overwhelming support. I showed some of your comments to Sarah, and she got teary-eyed reading them. Special thanks to the other women in construction who shared similar stories. You're all amazing. Now for the update. The business officially filed for bankruptcy yesterday. But here's where it gets interesting. Turns out Mark had been doing some creative accounting that's now coming to light. The forensic accountant hired by the bankruptcy trustee found that he had been running a pretty obvious shell game with company funds. My father is apparently shocked and devastated. Sure, Dad. The real bombshell? My Aunt Patricia, remember, Dad's sister who supported me? Just revealed that my grandfather had left letters expressing his wish for the business to be divided equally among all his grandchildren, regardless of gender. He apparently wrote these letters after seeing how my father treated his sisters. My father knew about these letters but lost them after my grandfather passed. Mark tried to contact me through Sarah's work email, since I have him blocked everywhere, begging for a private meeting to discuss some mutually beneficial arrangements. Sarah's response was just a chef's kiss. Your sister is busy running successful construction projects. Try YouTube tutorials? The karma train wasn't finished though. Karen's been telling everyone that they're temporarily moving to a smaller house to reorganize their finances. What she's not telling people is that they're being forced to sell their mansion because they used it as collateral for business loans. Their country club membership has also been revoked for unpaid dues. The best part? 3 of my former colleagues from Wilson Construction have joined my current team at Maxwell. They're excellent workers who were tired of Mark's mismanagement. Our latest project is actually right across the street from what used to be Wilson Construction's biggest development. Pure coincidence, I swear. My mother left me a voicemail yesterday, saying she finally understands what I went through and wants to make amends. I haven't responded yet. Sarah thinks we should invite her to the wedding as a first step, but I'm not sure. 20 years of dismissing me can't be fixed with one teary voicemail. Edit, holy crap, this blew up again. No, I'm not planning to sue over the inheritance thing. The statute of limitations has passed, and honestly, I'm doing better without their drama. Yes, Sarah is still amazing. No, I haven't responded to my mother yet. I think this is finally the end of this saga. Thanks for all the support, Reddit. Remember, success is the best revenge, but karma's pretty good too.